Shapika, about
This meeting is being recorded.
about about you know, because we were talking about the family office, and I was like, well, I have people in my family that understand it. She was like, well, you got another family, and I thought about these cats right here, and I've been studying with these cats for a minute, and these are like my brothers, and so yeah, I do have a family, and that's these brothers that's on the line with me right now. So I want to introduce you to good brother.
Can't hear you, Dad.
Want to introduce you to the good brother Johnny out of Philly. That's JY Trust Holdings. And then
Hey, I can barely hear you going in and out a little bit, but I heard you.
okay,
Go ahead.
can everybody hear me?
Amen.
I can hear you.
You hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I got brother KJ, Equitable Influence, right there. And then I got Pharaoh Fresh right here, brother Doug, right here in Milwaukee. And then I got the other good brother, Chief Hannibal Fortune out of Milwaukee. And all these brothers are studying and been chasing equity and chasing this thing for a minute.
Yeah.
And
Equity is everywhere you claim it.
that's it. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Sister Shapika.
Greetings, everyone. I cannot get my camera to work, and I apologize. I like to see people face to face, at
Yeah.
least
Right.
the first time, and I apologize for that. I don't know, these automatic uploads and things or updates that happen always seem to do stuff you don't want them to do. But I am Empress Chapika Rose Majors Eel, and that is my appellation. I am a member of quite a few tribes, just based on people invite me into their tribes, and I know my family and I have amalgamated as time has gone on, and Creator puts me where Creator sees fit, and I'm willing to be just that. So I don't know what else to say. I'm from Nashville, and I moved to Georgia by way of going to Clark Atlanta University, and I have not left yet.
Okay.
But outside of that, I'm born and raised in the South. I know my tribal area in Tennessee. I was actually born on the land called Mound Bottom,
Mm.
and I have taken that all the way back. My goal here, my agreement, was to recompense my ancestors and families' estates, and that's what I have wielded myself to do. And
Beautiful.
my mother has wielded
Whoa.
that on me too.
It's good. It's good.
So I
Right,
yield. That's who I am, and I yield.
right on. So I brought us together because we've been studying a lot. We've had some successes, had some failures. We've been really, seeking to be proficient at using equity and trust, encompassed with the UCC, because the UCC is complementary to both law and equity, and to utilize these things, in the best way we can. I think the last piece that we needed and knew we needed was someone that was proficient at encompassing all those things into the tax piece, and really doing the tax forms and understanding how to ascertain the credits and all those things. So when I heard about you, I was like, I got to meet her. And so here we are, and I was like, now once I talked to you, I was like, I got to introduce you to the rest of the crew because this is important. Um, and then further, we've been talking about again that that family office, and I think this group of individuals is who I think would be necessary to set up a family office with, so that we can protect our extended families and start making some things happen, moving some furniture around, as I would like to say. So, if you could just talk about your experience a little bit with using equity, and how equity can be used with the tax system, as well as implementing your trust and doing proper administration. That would be great.
Sure. Let me just kind of go back and do a deep dive on how I got here. Back in 2014, I believe, I went through a divorce while I filed for divorce while I was expecting my third offspring. And it wasn't necessarily, well, I'm going to say this, I felt like it was the worst thing that I would ever have to do. And it changed my whole perspective on life. In the interim of that, my ex-husband and I had 3 businesses together. We owned a swimming pool company. I was a real estate. I started out of commercial real estate. So I was a real estate agent. We owned a tax company together. And we were in the middle of putting together 2 more companies, one to flip houses. The other one was to, we were going to do a food truck. My cousin had a food truck that she was selling to us, gave us the blueprint, and we were going to be gazillionaires. Well, in the interim, I found out some things that I could not, we already had 2 sons, twin sons, that I could not move forward, without making sure that they knew and respected what family life was. So, in that, on hindsight, I ran into some people that were showing me tax stuff. This gentleman contacted me, knew I had a tax office. At the time, my ex-husband and I had 5 offices. Once we divorced, we had to scale. I scaled down. I kept my main office. He kept his main office, and we sold the other 3 offices off to our some of our employees. Okay, so now I wind up running into some people that were telling me, "Hey, you got a tax office? Let me show you these OIDs. Let me show you what they are." So I'm not one to jump into things and throw things against the wall to see what sticks. I'm about my coinage. At the same time, I'm about process and order. That's probably the Virgo in me, but it's all good. And so I studied. I studied for about 1.5 years, ran into a few other people that were introduced to me, and everything was not by happenstance. It was just coordinated in the stars the way it was supposed to unfold. With that, I wound up studying Publication 1212. A group of us decided that we would be each other's trustees, and we decided to do trust-to-trust contracts. In those trust-to-trust contracts, we wound up in 2017, between 2017 and 2019, moving things around to get about, I won't say total altogether, a little bit over $5 million. So we were taking the funds, directing them, and I was the one with the tax software. I'm the one with the EFIN number. I'm the one with the PTIN number. I'm the one with the CAF number. So I made sure what we were doing was legit, but we took some time to do what we call it a cipher. Like every year or so, we had decided we were going to start having these ciphers. The ciphers are about 5 to 7 days. We all have hotel rooms at a real nice hotel. We rent out conference room, and we just, from sun up to sundown, we order food, we'll go out to eat, we may have a few drinks, but from 8 a.m., I'm gonna say about 10, we started going in about 10 to about 1 o'clock at night, straight up books, reading, studying, and creating a flow chart to make it move. So once we did that, this lady, I'll never forget her name was Susan Freeman. She works for the Internal Revenue Service. She is not an agent of the Internal Revenue Service, but she is what can I call her? A destroyer in her own right, because she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know anything, but they gave her the power to wield, to tear down what she thinks tax collection is. So in that, she shows up on one of my trustees' doorstep in North Carolina, and then one in Alpharetta, Georgia. So I called because, again, I hold all these tax licenses and, have a relationship with the Internal Revenue Service. And I wind up calling them and saying, hey, this is not protocol. Why are you showing up on my trustees' doorsteps? Who are you? Blah, blah, blah. I got your card from one of the trustees. And in 2 days, you showed up on 2 doorsteps, and you can't come on my property. So what are we doing? Do I need to come see you? Because I've not received a letter. I have not received anything that is the standard operating procedures on how the Internal Revenue Service works. So what are we doing? Boom. Okay, well, we can set up a meeting. You can come in. You can do this, blah, blah, blah. So all of us decided to go into a meeting on Chamblee Tucker office in Georgia. And they tried to separate us. Because we were studied, we knew trust, we knew how to operate a trust, we knew trusts were private, we had all these things filed. We knew that it was important for us to stay together because the way that we had the structure set up was the same way banks have the structure set up. So for instance, Wells Fargo Bank and Trust trustee is New York Mellon Bank. Chase Manhattan's trustee is Wells Fargo Bank and Trust. So we took the same approach. We studied 10Ks, prospectuses, and just set up our trust-to-trust transactions as such. We created an escrow company / bank. We created a holding company, and we did the returns that way. Well, needless to say, a few people asked, well, why weren't we locked up and why weren't we put in jail? Because what we did was not wrong. The problem with them was they didn't want to teach us, and they kept asking us, well, how did we learn to do that? Who taught us that? And the only reason we got pulled in, guess the answer. The reason we got pulled in is because we added 7 more people to our trust-to-trust transactions. And they did not like that. They felt as though we were letting the secret out the bag. Then they turned around and gave our process to someone that people know as Chris Hauser. Then they gave the process to a couple of other people that people know as the as a husband and wife, quote unquote, real estate team. And they took some of the same similar things that we did, and all of a sudden they have it and they're working the process. Well, during that time, we were already members of the Sultanate under Asir Duke of Tears. I'm not sure if you heard of him or not, but he showed us some things and gave us our background knowledge in civics. So with that, we plugged those things in and wound up getting a 22-piece and a 2-piece silver bond. 2-piece silver bond for the state, 22-piece silver bond for the Internal Revenue Service. Okay. I'm sorry, for the Department of Treasury. Okay, but we lodged them both. The United Nations was on the list. International Courts of Justice. At the time, Donald Trump was the president. Steve Mnuchin was the secretary. Secretary of the Treasury. And
Yeah, I was just repeating. I'm sorry.
Okay, Secretary of the Treasury, as well as that's your local state. So whoever your state is, as far as the attorney general and your governor, which we all know the governor is really the president of the state. So with that being said, we didn't realize why they couldn't take us to jail, but also they could not impede on how we were, being paid. They tried to get us to come in one by one. We knew that we were already dealing in a trust-to-trust transaction. So how can you ask me questions about a trust that I'm not the trustee of, but I'm the beneficiary of? But the trustee is over there. You can't ask me questions about the responsibility of the trustee. So we knew enough because we studied enough to know how the trust operate and things of that nature. Well, come to find out, we were able to offset. And I'm not going to say discharge. Discharge is more or less on the public side, as settling the account is a private matter. So we wound up doing that. And I know that for a fact. So they tried to charge back some of the stuff. They couldn't charge back everything. I just talked to the Internal Revenue Service Friday, and I sent in some things and attached those bonds to pay all of our stuff. And they told me, "Oh yeah, we have some funds over here. You have a check waiting." And I'm like, "Well, release that puppy, baby." And so that's kind of like where we are, because now they're starting to get back to business, because right before all of this happened, I'm going to say infringed upon. I'm going to say the term infringed upon. And it's a few things that I didn't know then that I know now. And I'm going to impart some wisdom on you guys. And I hope you can use it in your future endeavors. One thing is we make sure that they didn't separate us. So we couldn't be away from the trustee that not just created, but did the tax return on the trust, right? Mind you, all of the paperwork had my EFIN number on it, my business address on it, and my CAF number on it. So I'm going to be considered the fiduciary in one way or another, outside of me using my whole harmless agreement to tell them to kick rocks. Okay, so now one thing that I learned to do that we did not do, but in hindsight, again, two things at this point are 2020, and I'm grateful to Creative that I was in the position that I was in. One, for filing the divorce, because if I didn't file for the divorce, I never would have the knowledge imparted upon me to do the things that I have done thus far. Two, knowing how to shut the duck up. When you go into a business space and you're conversating about a trust relationship, you're supposed to drop an NDA. You're supposed to have two NDAs, and one party is the party that you're supposed to be able to have a conversation with is the representative of that particular company that is typically going to be the fiduciary or the trustee that can talk trust to trust conversations with you as a trustee of the trust that you created. If you don't do that, they will run amok over you, because they're expecting you to tell quote unquote trade secrets at this point. So that was the first thing. So when we came into the office, there were 5 women in the office. There was Susan Freeman. She was a heavyset Caucasian woman. And there was another Caucasian woman in the office, and everybody else was melanated. The other lady in the office did not say much, but I noticed everything. You know, when you're in something and it's rushing and you're moving around and you're trying to get to the meat of it or whatever, you don't really take the time to pay attention. So everything kind of moves fast. Our jobs as melanated people is to control the room. And we can do that based on how our energy flows and how we take our deep breathing lessons and move the energy the way we need it to move. I was not profound in using my mudras and currency to do that at the time. But one thing I noticed, again, in hindsight, the young lady that was in the room quiet, she introduced herself to us, but we didn't even realize what she was saying. When she walked up to us, she was the only one that had a badge. She was the only one that gave us her name and her badge number. And on that badge said that she was an agent of the Internal Revenue Service. That was supposed to be the only person we were even talking to. Everybody else was supposed to leave the room because we weren't supposed to have conversation about our trust-to-trust transactions, in which we did keep a lot of it held back, but we weren't supposed to talk about anything with those other quote-unquote peons in the room. So now, in hindsight, I wound up having a relationship that was deeper than I had been into the Internal Revenue Service. Part of that relationship was understanding to a newfound space what tax credits really are. You have corporate tax credits, you have equity, you have debt. So equity, when I say equity, I'm talking about equitable interest and debt interest, right? In those, it's your job to wield those things and move them the way you need them to move. And if you don't, they give you a conservator to do so in the state that you were born to. Y'all following me?
Yep.
Okay, so in this experience, I learned how to wield my own credits and to move things the way I needed to move them. All of this happened, but straight up to 2020, which we all know was the world shutdown for the next 3 years. We're literally just now coming back online in tax world for real. Like tax returns are now just now starting to move really, really fast. like they used to in the beginning. So I'm saying all of that to say that gave me the time to take a knee to really learn the system, to understand true money mechanics, and to also understand what is money. We stated that in the meeting with the Internal Revenue Service, but I really didn't know what to say. I knew enough to say that's not money, because they were like, well, what did you do with the money, and who spent this and who did that? And I'm like, what money? Of course, me and my trustee were sitting there saying, what money? There is no money according to this. And we went in with all this paperwork that was their paperwork, government printing off, the government GPO.gov documentation, what am I trying to say? Federal CFRs, Code of Federal Regulations, and things of that nature. That's before I really jumped into equity and the piece of equity, which is contract to contract. We were working contract to contracts, but we really didn't understand the footing that we had and didn't know how to move it. Well, in hindsight, here I said, nobody in our group was detained. People are still asking, how do we get out of that? Because so many other people were doing OIDs, which I did OIDs because, of course, that's how they ran into me. I was doing OIDs for my clients and getting my clients $250,000 regular, checks. And then I get half of that. And then 4 months later, I do their stuff again, and they always double. So if you get $100,000 back, you pay me $50,000. But in 3 months, we're doing another one for $200,000, because I knew how to multiply money, not realizing, well, you know what, homegirl, you're creating debt, and didn't understand how I was creating debt. But nonetheless, they let it go because they knew I was going by the book. I just didn't understand the bond side of it. I understood the creation and the money mechanics of money mechanics, but I really didn't understand the private side and the back side of everything that's open until I started studying with the DTC and DTCC and understanding Bloomberg terminals and what they actually do and how to set up your family office and things of that nature. So that kind of brings me to where I am now. I learned in this journey that nothing is linear. You cannot learn linear, and how you got here was not a linear process. If you don't do anything and you decide to be a member of the Walking Dead, they will continue to tack things onto you, onto your soul, onto your spirit. And it's in law, it's in history, it's in day-to-day operations, it's in your language, it's in everything that you could possibly think of, on top of being programmed every day through their programming. So for me, I decided to take the approach, and I knew I couldn't unlearn everything in 3 months, 3 years, or whatever. But I did take the opportunity to make sure my learning curves were synonymous with what nature is, and everything in nature grows in a spiral. So I learned in a spiral. I'm well versed in civics, history, law, accounting, which I do not really like accounting, but I get it because I like money. What else? Taxes. I have my real estate license. I get all of those things, and I am a private banker. And the thing that I had to understand more so than anything, that everything is a trust. Everything is a trust relationship. If it has an application, registration, certification, it's a trust. So when you go into, I'm going to use my favorite example. My friend may say, hey, I need you to send me $5,000 here in, like I said, I'm from Tennessee, here in Tennessee. Okay, I'm going to go spend $5,000. I'm going to send you $5,000. Well, how do you want me to send it? Can you send to Western Union? I can get it quicker. Sure, I can. I go to Western Union and I drop down $5K. Before I give them $5K, what do they make me do? Hey, I need you to fill out this information right here. Well, I'm just giving my friends some money. No, we got to have a tracker to know where it comes from. You give them the information with the sheet of paper. They take that sheet of paper, which is an application. They register that application into their system, and then they give you a receipt, which is certification. I just created a trust. But not did I just create a trust. I gave them $5,000 of my money.
You created security too with that application.
I created a security, and let me tell you how they're going to flip it. And they have just created 15 for themselves. They
Is it
took
15
my
or 50?
15, just straight numbers right now, it'll be 15.
Wow.
But of course, when they hypothecated to make that deposit into their securities intermediary, i.e. bank, is going to be hypothecated.
Yeah.
Okay. They take my 5. They do. It's not a little magic man running in the computer system and running that 5,000 to my friend. No, they're going to take it out on the other side. But how are they going to take it out? They're going to print it on a check. 9 times out of 10, they're going to get you to cash that check right there. So that's really $15K right there. They took my 5, put it in the system. They have my application. That's 5. That's a face value of $5K right there. When my friend goes to pick up her money, don't they tell her to fill out another application to pick that money up?
So really, that's 20. Because if she cashed it there too, that's 20.
Right.
God,
so as you continue to really understand what trust is, I just stick in my 2-step, because you got to remember, people that have a certain level of melanin in their DNA are the creators. It's another set of people that are not. And they have what we in our little group, we call it that, oh shoot, they back to the same 2-step. They only have so much that they can do, because it's not a lot of pivot in what they do, because they're not creators. That's why when you sit down and watch a movie and halfway through the movie, you reach over to your loved one and say, they're going to do this, and this. Because they're not creators. And it's the same story. It's just a different background. And it's the same thing that goes on in our everyday. It's the same process when we're going through and looking at history, for instance. Every time we get, quote unquote, we as in melanated people, group of people get together and decide we're going to do an uprising, or we're going to better ourselves, or we're going to create a community, they always send somebody in to infiltrate that group. Anytime you have somebody like Muhammad Ali, who, quote unquote, all of a sudden got Parkinson's disease because he got hit in the head too much. No, they poisoned him when he went to the Mayo Clinic, because he stood up and said, I am not. I'll go to jail before I go fight a war for you. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. So for me, I decided, okay, in this linear learning, I'm going to do what's best for me and my offspring. I have to put my face mask on first before I save anybody else. So what we decided to do is, my family said, you know what? You take a break. We're going to help you run the tax office. We're going to help you do your real estate stuff. You go and get the knowledge that we need so we can go back and grab all of our ancestors' land, because there are land patents out there. I guarantee your ancestors' names are on those land patents. I guarantee it. I guarantee nobody whose name ends with an S-O-N, no Johnson, no Williamson, no Nelson. Those are all offshoots, because they had what I call a melanated daddy, if you will, that gave them the opportunity to be a son in their clan or their tribe. And those names are not on those land patents. So I'm saying all of that to say that's how I got here. And that's how I learned how to do the home offices, set those things up, upload people's information into Bloomberg terminals, getting securitization audits, helping people with their mortgages, helping people pay off some things by settling the debt and doing what we call just make a lot. In some cases, you would say it would be settling the debt in equity, special deposit, that type of thing. But you really can't do that until you have done the debt discharge on the public side, and then settle the debt on the private side, and then that way you can merge the accounts. So those are some of the things that I've had to learn in knowing how to utilize, quote unquote, silver, which pulls you out of the United States jurisdiction, because they can't operate in real money because it's a bankrupt system, right? That's why Trump is so good at it. He's used to working in bankruptcies. I'm not saying the United States is bankrupt, but
They just
it does
operate
operate in bankruptcy.
Yeah, they just operate in bankruptcy. It's not bankrupt. They just operate in Chapter 11 bankruptcy, perpetual Chapter 11.
100%. And that's why in those one set of 4 years, Trump was able to bounce the economy back to record highs. Nobody wants to talk about that because he understood what it meant to bring everything back here. And he was really looking to operate in the republic. The democracy comes in, it's the same thing as communism, Marxism, whatever you want to call it. It all roads lead to Rome when they want to take the equity out of what you have and split it amongst those that have none.
Right.
It's not a coincidence that it's a group of people that have been kicked out of every country on the plane are now trying to take over another set of space that they have no background or no lineage in. That's why it's illegal for them to do, for anyone to do a DNA test in that country, because then you'll find out y'all supposed to be back over there in the Germany area. Oh, what? Y'all got kicked out of Germany too? Oh, yeah, I forgot. We're going back into them mountains then. It's all good. But at any rate.
Kazar.
Right.
Kazars, all the Kazars.
Those Causiatic Mountains, yeah.
I call them Khazari Caucasians.
Yeah, all Zion.
Yeah.
We speaking hot stuff right here. This is forbidden tongue right here.
The truth shall make you free, brother.
Huh?
No, I was just teasing Dev. I'm just saying the truth shall make us free.
That's it.
I always say that we just, going back to Hosea 4:6, we just perish because it's a lack of knowledge. I've been living on that for years,
Yeah.
and that's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I guess, from our standpoint, I mean, we all have a big chunk of knowledge. I think, Johnny has traversed some ways that we haven't even seen before. I don't know, John, if you want to break that down about that room with all them Bibles on the desk and all them scriptures on the wall.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Sound like
Well, no, my background, I think, you said something that touched a big nerve, in terms of just learning. I had an opportunity. I didn't get a chance to share my background, but I had an opportunity to work at Vanguard Investments. And I think that's where, I think my third eye opened up to a point where I'm like, where am I? Because, every time, prior to going to Vanguard, folks talked about money, this, that. But when I went there, and I'm talking about day.
Excuse me, not to interrupt your wisdom. Can you give me a moment, just a second?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. Are you speaking of Vanguard, the like BlackRock Vanguard,
Yes.
the NGO?
Yes.
Okay, I yield. All right, we're on the same page. What?
All right, good. Okay. Yeah. So my first day there, all I heard was swap, derivatives, coupons, and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, where am I? And not only that, the thing was, you were never called a employee. Everybody was in maritime concept. You were a crew member. And when I heard the word crew, I just went off. So to shorten all that, so I learned a little bit about the securities, the QSEPs. I got my feet wet about how all of this, everything that we sign becomes a credit push application. You called it something different, but we're on the same language. It's a credit push application that we're putting our instruments through. Fast forward, I started gathering a lot of folks, maybe about 75 people in Philadelphia, creating a group to try to stop this mortgage foreclosure diversion program that we had. And one of the words that killed me was diversion. So I kept asking the council folks, state reps, the senators. I had everyone giving us meetings. And this is what I found out. You said the governor is the president. You're absolutely right. But every trade date or settlement date or closing date, that original instrument gets converted to the state. period,
Mm-hmm.
period. So I unraveled a lot of that and I kept going directly into orphan court. At the time, I really didn't know everything that I wanted, but I knew I was trying to recall all of my security. So I went into the orphan court and sought a petition. So the judge, his name is Judge Overton, and KJ and Davin are pretty familiar about what went on there. So I had not even a hearing. He basically said I couldn't release 90 million to you for your account, but I'm going to give you a decree. And in that decree, Empress, he gave me 22 items that he's in charge of for me. And he said it that way. These are the 22 things I can do for you. And I'm giving you a control number and an intro vivos trust from the state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but it gets sweeter. So that day that they were giving me the order or the decree, I was on the 4th floor. So the clerk said, oh, you got to go down to the 3rd floor to the chambers. So I said, okay. I go down, get on the elevator. I go to the orphan court's chambers. There's 3 judges in there. So I ring the doorbell. It's a little, almost like a ring. It was like, who's there? I said, Johnny. She said, 1 second. They opened the door. They shut the door behind me. And on the wall was nothing but Bible verses, all on the walls. And every desk had a Bible. And it was like one of those old school desks, the real green metal desks like you saw back in the 50s and 40s.
Yes.
Yes. So they came out and they gave me the same piece of paper that I could have got up on the 4th floor. So I think at that moment, they either realized I knew a little something. So I think they were just showing me that room for me to show, to let me see the equity side of it. So fast forward, the judge court ordered me, without me doing it, an estate, a court-appointed estate number, an 83 estate number. So it's written this way: Johnny Young Estate, 2nd line, Johnny Young, comma, the court case number. And then the 3rd line is care of Young, comma, Johnny, the beneficiary. So when I called the IRS up and I asked her, what is this 1120? She said that was a settlement fund set up by the court. So you have a court-appointed estate. So that's how far I've gone.
Okay.
So when I heard what Davin was saying about, the taxes, I know everything is a taxable event. So
You probably
That's
got a pot of like $100 million just sitting there, just
Well,
marinating.
I did the name change, and it seemed like when I did the name change, they had me in the courtroom. I didn't have to go before a judge, but I was before the court administrator. I guess that was the clerk. But they kept pushing these buttons. You're out of this, you're out of this, you're out of this, you're out of this, you're out of this. Okay, you're done. I was like, Then about 2 weeks later, I get a letter from the Pennsylvania State Repository. And I knew from banking, from in the investment world, there's a deposit side of the records. Well, the bank, and then there's a repository side. The repository side is really for all of the interest that the FDIC accrues on all of our deposits, whatever they may be. And so the United States Pennsylvania State Repository says there are no records on Young space Johnny. So I've been seeing some things that I just probably can't put the taxable events or the taxable documents together. And I do have a trust set up. So I'm there, but not on the level that you are with these taxes. So
did they give you the EIN number?
Gave me 83 EIN number.
Oh, well, we gonna go get that, baby. Yes, sir.
That's what you were saying, KJ. You was say that again?
Is it an 83-6?
It's an 83. I'll tell you tomorrow, but because I'm downstairs, but it's an 83 number.
Yeah.
And it was issued by the court, so I didn't have anything to do with it.
Wow.
But I think Empress, when he issued the intro vivos trust to me, he kept saying that was a gift from Pennsylvania. That's your intro vivos trust. This control ID number you'll use for the rest of your life. If anything you need to do in this building, which was our city hall at the time, it still is our city hall.
That's your bank right there. You drop all the bills in that joint.
You are a private banker. Yes, sir.
I can't hear you. Say it again.
She said you are a private banker.
Well, I'm in your hands right now, so we can do what we need to do. So just Let's rock.
Let's rock. Let's do it. The private banking part, I'm so blown right now. I'm like, okay, so did when they gave you this number, they gave it to you on the documentation and told you what you can and can't do, but didn't tell you how to go get the funds.
They didn't tell me how to go get the funds.
That's funny. But you have a conservator, which is that trustee / judge that's over your estate.
But I appointed him, I hand wrote him a note. Well, I call it a note. I appointed him as the fiduciary, and he sent the card back, the green card back. And after that, that's when those that 83 number came out. I think I appointed him before he gave me the 83 number.
How long ago was this?
18.
2018. Okay. So you haven't dropped off any of your quote unquote securities over to them or anything like that? You haven't turned over anything for them to
Because
settle?
I don't know exactly, you know, I trademarked the name just recently, and I just put it into the Legal Intelligence, which is our legal newspaper for Philadelphia. So I just did that last week, and it's going to run for 2 weeks. And then another newspaper, I did it for a month. But no, I haven't done anything with the securities yet. And I have my QSIP my QSIP number on every single thing I got, in terms of, you know, in my pocket, bank accounts, mortgage, IDs, I got all that.
Okay, so it's time for us to get ready to change the world. First thing,
Change the world.
yeah, for real, because what you may not understand is we're together for a reason. Two, we have to you went to work for the NGO so you can set up your own NGO. If you follow what I'm saying, you'll get it. Because that trademark you got, I'm literally in line to get my stuff trademarked. But make sure your trademark is owned by a a trust that is what's the word? A irrevocable trust.
Irrevocable
Yes,
trust.
mine is.
Perfect.
Mhm.
But yeah, but God, no, we on the right track, y'all. I'm gonna say this.
This was no mistake here. Tonight was no mistake. Yeah.
It was no mistake. And everybody on the line, go do the same thing.
I'm gonna follow suit. Yeah. Doug, Hannibal, we got to get together so we can knock this out, brother.
This is beautiful. This is freaking beautiful. Let me tell you something.
We got a tight group.
Yes, sir. That trademark, let me tell you what that trademark does. If the people, quote unquote, willingly, I'm going to say people, meaning state representatives or people that are to serve public officials. I'm going to leave it at that. It can be a police officer, it can be a judge, it can be a clerk, it can be the president. If they step wrong to you, keep in mind Michael Jordan when he sued the dude for using his name. If they step wrong to you and you gave them notice and they had the opportunity to go about their way and leave you alone and give you what is rightfully, not you per se, but it's typically for your estate, and they don't do it, they have just committed what they call the willingness to obstruct your estate. It's another term for it, but it's basically that in a nutshell. When they do that, you can go in, as long as you have proof that you gave them notice, you can go in and bankrupt them as an individual. Now, I'm not saying go do that. That's not my goal. But what I'm saying is that removes the sovereign immunity, and it removes the sovereignty from these government officials, i.e., you know, a CEO and CFO is really a government official. So they are under sovereign immunity too. It removes it if they willingly went against your trademark, which is a no-no. Now they don't have the protection and they can continue to get things like that $30 million contract. Even if you bankrupt the bank, you still get your $30 million. All those things go away they don't get to continue to, and God forbid it's happening, but it needs to be talked about so it can't happen anymore. Take little children, hurt them, abuse them, put them into these rings, women and things of that nature. All the immunity that keeps them from going to jail because they were on Epstein Island, that goes away.
Mm.
Think about it. How many estates do you think they're trespassing against?
Oh,
So when
millions.
that immunity goes away, there is no Gitmo. It's some you get your ass off my land.
Mhm.
So we have to put ourselves in a position where we're utterly protected. And that is one of the ways. That's one of the main ways.
Mhm.
And I'm
I have a
literally, and it's so
trademark with
funny.
the state. Yeah, I have a trademark with the state. Through the
Well, I have a
state.
friend who was telling me about this class to take because they're in the middle of the class themselves, but they have gone about it in such a way where they are able to go in and protect themselves. But not just that, they're already winning. Like they're already pulling stuff, they're already pulling things down, they're already getting removing diplomatic immunities for people that are trespassing against their states.
Mhm.
If y'all have paid attention to some of the things that's going on, remember the judge that got in trouble, not the judge, the DA, the not district attorney, the attorney general in the state of Texas. Y'all, you remember a few months back he got removed
Ken Paxton.
and then he went back in place
Mm.
because he trespassed on some people that I know their states and they were going through the process, but he did a 160 or what is it?
180. 180.
180. Yeah, it was really 160 because it was halfway and got back in position. But what he did was he threatened them and was like, nah, if I go down, y'all go down. But they just realized they're the ones that's in this class, and they were like, okay, had we known about the diplomatic immunity, he would have had to take a knee. He wouldn't have been able to come back. And so now everybody's moving in positions to be able to claim not just their rights, but stay protected under the trust. Because remember, the trust is still fake. I don't care what creator didn't give us a trust to say, hey, I'm going to, put you in a trust and you go live off the land. No, he said, hey, I'm putting you on the land and you live off the land.
Right.
And that's that. The people who created this whole trust structure are those that didn't have any claim to the land. That's the only way that they're relevant.
How many trusts do you have set up? You got quite a few.
That ain't your business. No, I'm just saying.
Right on.
Right now,
multiple. Right on. Okay, my bad.
No. For real though, I have a trust structure that is about 40 deep, and it's not because I want to trust here, want to trust there. I have 4 sons.
Yeah.
I have a mother who has given me the she's the what you call it over. I'm sorry. She has given me the power of attorney to administer her estate, my estate, and be the executor over my dad's estate, who has transitioned. He transitioned in 2012. So I had to set up different, trusts to hold those estates.
Hold all that property, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can't have
driver's license, social security accounts, all those different accounts. Yeah.
And you cannot have a trust. I mean, you cannot have an estate without a trust. You can have a trust without an estate, but I had to set those things up and keep a flow chart of how they're going to move, because I also have a ministerial trust. I have a private express trust. I have a non-banking bank trust. I have an escrow trust. I have all these things that you need to operate in commerce, because you're going to need those to go get the funds to put them in from the Treasury. And the Treasury is the best place. The Treasury is better than the bank. The bank steals, the Treasury don't.
Yeah.
That's where your money is.
Interesting. Yeah. And I got Doug, did they shut down your Treasury Direct account too?
No.
Yours is open?
Yeah, I'm still open and running. Yeah. Mine's up. Why? What happened to yours?
I don't know. It got locked down. I'll have to do a FOIA request to find out what's going on with it.
No, yeah, I'm ready to fund mine. I just need help to fund it. I need to put some securities in there.
Okay.
I'm just This is very enlightening today. Y'all, it's like, y'all all got some raw enlightenments. Thank you for blessing me with this information today.
That's what it's
Right on.
about, bro. That's what it's about. Bringing it all together.
Yeah. Hannibal, do you have any questions, brother?
No, yeah.
You know.
Let me thank Empress for coming on. Appreciate you,
Mhm.
sis, and
Absolutely.
and the walk that you walked. I also have my calf number, but I really didn't understand how to use it. Could you give me some enlightenment on that, if possible?
Absolutely. So it's more than one calf number because there are several different how can I say it? Sets of hold on, I'm gonna tell you what it is.
When I figured it out.
Hmm?
I think I was stuck. I think I was stuck for a little bit. I don't know, but I'm just in the first couple of chapters of the book right now, so I really can't give you anything at the moment.
Which book are you talking about?
What book you talking
The
about?
patent, copyright, and trademark. I wouldn't got that.
Oh. Yeah, those things are important.
Yeah.
But I was speaking in regards to the calf. Who was asking about the calf number?
Hannibal.
Okay. In regards to the calf number, there are 3 different types of calf numbers that you can have. Just like, okay, remember, everything is symbolic. Everything is that I'm going to say they do, the infamous they, has a numerical value to it. It may not be the same numerical value you do or you have, but a lot of times it's kind of like, I'm going to say it this way. Okay, we talk about the melanin and the things like that in our skin, and our bodies being the most intelligent bodies on the plane. So I'm saying that to say a lot of things that we do, we don't really get what we do, and we're only using what 33% of our brain, 10%, however much percentage of our brain that we use. And the same thing goes for the DNA. You know, our DNA is like a computer chip, and we're not even using all of it. They tried to call the rest of it junk DNA. It always becomes junk DNA or something like that when they don't have any, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm saying all of that to say, in those things, we don't have to do certain things. We don't have to do blood rituals. We don't have to sit around a dead bird or a dead bat and take a bat wing juice. We don't have to do all that because we're already in tune with our land. And the reason why I'm saying that is because everything that has been created, when you get further and further into your studies, you'll find out that okay, I'm gonna say this, and y'all just gonna have to be like, okay, you may not believe it or whatever, but you'll come to a moment of like, what? Jesus is Satan in the book. It's the same. If you're the morning star and Satan is the morning star, well, what's the difference?
Right.
So when you pay attention to the misinformation, you realize why your ancestors or the people before you would always say things like third time is a charm, or why there's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, why everything is in threes. So your calf number, you have 3 sets of calf numbers. You have 3 different birth certificates. You have a state birth certificate, you have a county birth certificate, and you have a federal birth certificate. You have 3 the 3 calf numbers represent what you can use on which what is it called? Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. It's, I guess I'm not supposed to tell you, but it's these records that you have with the Department of Treasury. Each calf number or type of calf number is synonymous with a set of records. So everybody knows about the master file. Well, it's 2 other files that nobody knows about. And each type of file, you have a calf number to be able to be the director over that particular file. And I'm saying director because when you get your 2848, you have that power of attorney form, you send that information in and they send you back the calf number, Well, your language takes place in that too, because they have, like, for instance, Social Security has been administrating over your estate. All these things are taking place when those are the things that's supposed to separate you from the democracy, or you're deciding if you're going to operate in the republic. So I'm saying that part to say these delineations and these I'm gonna call them kangaroo courts. So your municipal court, your what's the other court? The little lower level courts. It's like
County
three of them.
municipal
The state
court,
court, the state court.
State court is, yeah, that's one of them. All of these
Probate.
courts, no, probate is real. That's how you got here. That's how it all started. So probate
Mhm.
deals with estates. Probate is
Mhm.
what the registrar gave to, the registrar went to the probate court to create your other birth certificate for the county
Mhm.
before they started trading on it. So that's your
I
article.
want, I want, I want to say, I want to just share something real quick. I
Go
don't know
ahead.
if people realize this. When you just said probate, a few months ago, my niece's mom passed away. So I go to the funeral home with her, and she's young. So, the funeral director was sitting and talking. I was sitting a few feet back from her. So the funeral director said, how many certificates do you want? And she looked back at me. She said, Uncle Johnny, how many should I get? I said, get 3. I'm paying for it. Go ahead. But I'm gonna tell you how the spirit works. I'm leaning in my chair and I'm just sitting back. Spirit keeps touching me. I turn over my shoulder. On the wall, there was a certificate from the United States Department of Commerce giving and certifying the director for security. So I always knew that the birth certificate is one. Listen, the birth certificate we know, and then we know the death certificate. But remember, when you look at that Social Security card very closely, the Federal Trade Commission says do not give that number out to anyone. Anyone. So the United States Social Security Administration passes that number down to that county where you're going to be domiciled at. And the Social Security Administration is only administrating those life certificates, birth certificates from birth up until death. And they have to have someone that stores the body, the physical part of it away, but they're never releasing themselves from the probate side for those securities. And your funeral director is the one who has the certificate from the United States Department of Commerce.
Wow.
Go back to you, Empress. Go ahead, Empress.
So you hit everything that I was getting at. You hit it. You hit it straight up, left and right. You hit it. They are securitizing your death certificate. We don't even understand the spiritual ramifications of what's going on. When you put your body down, you let them people wield certain things over you.
Right. Don't let them commit you to the ground. Make them commit you to
that's why you always hear this. Has anyone probated the state? Has the state been probated? At that moment, we're supposed to do just like the Jewish community. Excuse me, give me that certificate and place it right in trust. It should not go back to the state.
And the state holds all of those securities. Why you think they call it abandoned property? There ain't nobody reading that Abandoned Property Act. You living in an abandoned property every day, all day.
So I should be able to go back and get my grandfather's, my
Everybody's.
Everybody.
That's why you hear the Jewish folks, they say, I'm a trust baby. They always said that. I've heard people that I went to school with, some of them that, I'm a trust baby. What? But it was a lot of the Jewish folks that said that.
Yeah.
And the first time that I went to go get that birth certificate apostille, the lady told me, she said, oh, you guys are doing it now. And they do it 10 days after that child is born. They go run and get it all sealed up.
Wow.
Do you know the day that the babies are even conceived, they go and get a life insurance policy?
Oh, yeah.
3 months after the baby, I'm at 3 months. Okay, they go out and get a policy, because if anything happens to that baby in that mother's stomach, do you know the insurance company has to pay out?
I'll be back.
They go get Tollies and Bolies, business owned life insurance, trust owned life insurance policies, and they go and handle it that way. That's how they operate. And we're behind the gun. They did a lot of stuff to keep us behind the gun, but you can't slow down perfection, because now we're back. Now we've woken up. Everybody's waking up. And what did they do? They tried to put us in a spot for 3 years and tell us we can't go outside. So what did? We stayed in and studied, and we got the leg up, and we're back. We're back. Everybody's not 100%, but when we stick together and we move in unison and in concert, and we create a harmony, no man can tear us under. So back to the whole thing about the CAF and everything, you're 100% right. They take those certificates, they capitalize on them, and truth be told, we're the trust fund babies, because they cannot live on the plane without us. They need us.
Yeah, we keep giving our securities away.
We've been giving our securities away. If we stop giving our securities away, they have nothing to capitalize on, because they own nothing and they're not tied to the land. So poof, they will disappear. And that's what we need to be having our mindset stuck on, to make sure that we save our bloodlines, make sure that we stop our offsprings from, oh, we need 2.3 kids. No, you don't. You need to have as many as your body can handle and you can afford. And you should be in a position to have as many as you can afford, so you can keep your bloodline going on, because they're birthing at a negative rate. We're not.
Yeah.
And we don't need to start to, but we do need to get back off the TV screen and stop what are the twerking and all this stupid mess, and get back to raising our offspring so they can be pillars of the community and grow and do something for the community that's righteous. All this extra stuff, we got to stop doing that. So I'm saying all of that to say, at the end of the day, the CAF number just represents one of the many trusts, because you are a trust fund, baby, that you have access to administer. And I call it minister because ad means to not minister. So when you say administer, it means no minister.
Hannibal is also a minister as well. Yeah, Hannibal is also a minister. I meant to mention that.
Oh, okay. We have a minister on the line, and we should all be ministers, because they can't tax a minister, can't tax a ministry.
Yeah,
you can tax a church, but you can't tax a ministry.
Right. The trust certificate units.
Yeah.
How do those work, and how can they be monetized?
Well, it's a few ways that they can work. One way, you can upload them. So you create them, upload them, and send and register them. And I say upload them, put them into the terminal. That's one way. You can register them to yourself and let people trade on them or divvy them out. And the trust certificate unit is based on whatever you decide to
denominate the value.
Yes, and you have to evaluate it the way you evaluate. So one example is I have evaluated my silver, for instance. 1 ounce of 1 troy ounce of silver of mine that has not been minted is worth 1 quintillion US dollars.
Damn.
Okay. So with that is in my trust, and I have a barcode and a seal for that. So now I have just given a dollar amount to
the value of your trust.
Mm-hmm. And that's just, and I'm giving you an example. So I can take that 1 quintillion and create, let's just say 22, or I'll say 50 trust certificate units. And I can break those up in 50, register those units or complete those units, give each unit a dollar amount divided by so 50 divided into a quintillion tells you how much it's worth. Everything, in case y'all didn't notice, I'm sure you have, because we have bankers and stuff on the line, has gone into book entry bookkeeping, which is nothing but the DTCC, which is nothing but them doing what a notary does, doing what a securities intermediary does, which is note and minute and write everything down, and everything that they're writing down and they put their seal on is worth a certain amount of money. So they're taking all of the securities that we have not claimed, that is securities in your AT&T bill. For instance, every time you get a bill, it is proof that you have security interest in that company. If you don't know how to endorse and send that bill back, who to send it to, then you're giving up those securities every month. The dividend at the bottom / coupon is what your dividend payment is supposed to be instead of you turning around sending it in to pay. So what's happening is 2 years, if you go back and read your trust indenture for AT&T, it says in the trust indenture 2 years from the date that you open that account and 2 years from the date of that the date that security interest went out, i.e. bill, it's really tied to a receiver's account. So a lot of people out here, oh, I got to go and take this to the trust indenture and take this to the trustee of the trust indenture and da 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 da. Nah, it doesn't work like that. You got to get to the prospectus. You got to read the information in the trust indenture as well as read what's in the prospectus, and they tell you how they monetize on your application. So with all that being said, once you take that application, turn it back into the securities intermediary with the proper endorsement on it and say, hey, I'm claiming my rights, titles, and interests or my securities in this company. Now that's proof that you have preferred stock in that company. You take preferred stock and you can put it in your Fidelity account, your TDA account, or your whatever brokerage account you have and utilize it that way. But now you're doing what we left on the table. All the accounts you've ever had, all of the jobs you've ever had, you have left equitable interest on the table because you never went in and claimed it. All you're doing at that point is taking the interest, going in and claiming it, and putting the interest where you can utilize it best. It's 2 or 3 ways where you can move that interest. You can move it into a brokerage account. You can move that interest into what I call on your master file and utilize it that way. You can and pull it down with tax returns, or you can put it back into that company and just show up for the stockholders meeting because you have preferred stock as opposed to common stock. I like preferred stock because if you have preferred stock and the company goes bankrupt, they got to pay you. They don't get to
better, yeah. Your first position.
And one thing I realized too, this was my days at Vanguard. Those certificates that we have, those BCs, those birth certificates, they're unrestricted. Unrestricted, making them preferred. The company, when they create their certificates, they are restricted. Ours are unrestricted.
Yes.
I have some coupons from my mortgage company, or the mortgage company. I got some for 38,000, 37,000. I got a bunch of them. And I just been wanting to monetize them. I got a bunch of these suckers.
You with now?
Yeah, huh?
You said with the mortgage company you with now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you
well, actually Cardinal transferred it to Lakeview, but they're all part of the same thing. The servicing company. But I got those coupons, so I want to take those coupons and monetize them.
We can get that done. We can get that done. You have to know who you're sending the stuff to. I tell people all the time, go read the prospectus, go read the 1040, I'm sorry, the 10K or the 8K and that trust indenture. It's the software out that is the ChatGPT type software. You can take those PDFs and dump them into that chat and then ask it questions that'll cut your time down. I still tell people to read the documentation in the books or in those prospectuses and things of that nature. But if you can run across something that'll cut your learn time down a little bit, it'll help you move to your next level and push stuff, further in. So you'll have time to sit on the beach and eat a mango and drink a coconut drink and read what you really want to read, which is how to move these estates and how to move them and will them for the way that's best for your family. And create I call them, create the non-governmental organizations so you can take care of your estates and your people and things of that nature.
Like that. That's right.
Yeah, I yield.
Interesting. Well, this has been very interesting, very educational. I guess first steps, gentlemen, is we all need to. I know I got to get my house in order. I got to get my stuff squared
Of
away.
course.
So that's what I'm working on with the good sister. I know Doug has been studying. He's working on some things. Hannibal's got some stuff he's working on with his house and so forth. So I don't want to speak for nobody else, but we all are definitely going to need your services, Empress, to, to get us over the hump so we can start operating with no stress.
Matter. I'm happy to oblige.
Yeah.
One thing I have learned, this all tax matters, and if you know how to handle the tax matter, then you wind up winning on the back end, because that's the only way you can close out these these tax cases, but they're tax cases in these court registry investment system cases. The only way you can close them out is completing the taxes on them.
Completing the taxes. So that's what I'm looking to do on this one, so I can stop looking over my.
And what about foreclosed homes? If the maturity on that security is not up yet, what's the process with that, Empress?
If you have a foreclosed home, matter of fact, you can get, if you know, if it's within 7 years, you can get the land back, and you can get the rights, titles, and interest back. One thing that we don't really pay attention to is going in and claiming your rights, titles, interest. See, they have their own contracts. If you go in with your contract and then you can have a meeting of the minds, then 9 times out of 10, the contract that you're signing won't sign away or assign your rights, titles, interest, insurance over to that company. So what happens is you take that and rescind, because remember, you're in a trust agreement, or what I like to call a sub trust agreement, because you're looking at a contract, but the contract that you're looking at is really a trust agreement because it's one signature on it. Or some people like to call them unilateral contracts because it's one signature on it. So really you're in contract, i.e. with you.
Can I interject?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, bro.
So one thing I'm starting to kind of comprehend with a lot of this, and first of all, bravo, with everything. But one thing I'm starting to comprehend is that just kind of specifically speaking about mortgages, y'all kind of sparked it, but I'll bring it full circle since everything's a trust. What I'm starting to see is that, in a lot of these mortgage documents, they have the first, middle name, single woman, married family, or whatever, some type of extra verbiage on it. To your point, that's the actual, what I'm under the impression of, that's the actual name of the trust specified in the deed of trust.
Yeah.
Right? So it seems to be, like you're saying, as long as you have some type of claim of equity or some type of claim on it, that's really as far as the administration should go, because no one has a higher claim in that regard. I was just telling this with Brother Johnny earlier, and I want to hear your thoughts. I think how powerful or how relevant would you say gift tax are in these transactions? And the reason why I'm saying that is, yesterday I was looking at the Uniform Trust Code. It reads just like the UCC. I shared this with both of my guys. And then I came across something and it had some language in it. I've never seen it before, but I'm familiar with trust. Maybe it was over my head or whatever. But it's actually, it read that a settlor has the same power. A holder of an instrument or a holder of an issue or trust property has the same power as the settlor as it pertains to their particular interest or their assigned portion. I'll say, okay, so basically what they're saying is, as long as we make them a beneficiary of this particular trust, not my estate, but this trust that I put estate into, right? Or property into, if I make them a beneficiary of that, that would, I guess, preclude my performance, right? I have no other reason to do anything because I've shown you by, like you said, according to book entry, that there's interest has been assigned or transferred. So now you guys are the holder of said value, creating a tax event. So what it says is that there's this clause called the power to withdraw. So I looked into that and it led me to this verbiage called a crummy. So basically what that's how they notify for per the Supreme Court case. And what they say is that as long as the grantor can properly prove that the beneficiary of that arrangement has been assigned those rights, that basically would qualify as a present interest versus a future interest, right? So basically it qualifies as a taxable event for this year. Saying that to say, how would we be able to, how should I say it? I'm of the mindset that allows us to really start proving a level of taxes, and that's kind of where it goes into, well, wait a minute, how would the gift tax tie into it? Is that something you're familiar with? Do you think it's two separate things, or what would you say on that, or what would your thoughts on that be?
Okay, I'm going to be real stinking nasty, but in a loving way. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for them 709s and 706s, baby. You got to cry before you walk.
No, that's real. That's real.
You know what I'm saying? You over here trying to jump in the swimming pool and you ain't even past the 2 feet mark. Where you going?
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Because remember, everything is a taxable event. You're in the right thing, and don't let me discourage you from diving into that.
I'm trying to get some tutelage.
There is an order. Everything that you do. So let me just break it down this way real quick. Remember, I said there's a private side and a public side. Okay.
Right.
You have your 3 sets of books. You have your accounts receivable books, you have your accounts payable books, and then you have your quote unquote what I like to call the asset books. Okay. And I'm coming from a standpoint of just straight up accounting and what happens on the corporate side of accounting. If I have my books, one set of those books are relevant in each type of meeting. If I'm going to my the investors meeting, they're going to get one set of those books, which is typically going to be the accounts receivable, because the accounts receivable shows everything that's coming to me. But remember, they do all accounting in accrual method, which means I can go as far out and project as far as I want to go and go all the way back to A1 day one ab initio from when it started. So that's what timeless means. That's why everybody likes being in accrual accounting, because there is no time limit. And that's where men and women are free to go as far as they want to or as back far as they want to. Okay, so boom. Then you have your asset accounting, which is what you typically you're going to take to I'll just say to your stockholders meeting, right? And that's what you're going to show them, all the assets that you have on the books. Then the third is the accounts payable. You're going to take that to the meeting with the Internal Revenue Service, because everything that you have payable on your books or that you have to pay out, they're not going to tax you on that. They tax you on quote unquote income, right? So I'm saying that to say, when you're dealing with those things, those 3 things come back to you, the tax collector. They gave you a misnomer and told you that you are the taxpayer. How can you be the taxpayer when you're the creator?
Right.
You're the grantor beneficiary. So if you're the grantor beneficiary from the estate that they created / trust that they created, you can't be the trustee, because if you're the trustee, that means you have to have the trust declaration and know what your job is as the trustee. But when you go and remove all what is that called, assumptions, and state that you are the quote unquote beneficiary, that means this Hoppo, who this nigga? How they figure out that they the beneficiary? Okay, now what? If you're the beneficiary, that means somebody else is the trustee / fiduciary. That's their responsibility. Why would you be the trustee of a trust you didn't create? You can only be the trustee of a trust that you created because you wrote the trust declaration and you're the one that said the trust has to do A, B, C, D. So now let's go on the backside of that. If you're the beneficiary of those trusts, that means they need your what? Energy in order to move those trusts. All of that stuff comes back to you because they told you you are a taxpayer. But if you follow that treaty that Noble Drew Ali gave you and showed you that that's what you're operating on, then you can put yourself in a position to be the tax collector based on how you have your books set up. As a tax collector, now when you are reporting taxes, you're recouping and receiving taxes. And that's how you wind up getting back into the timelessness of the 709, 706, because it goes all the way back from the date they first traded their first certificate on the stock market. When you pull up that GMEI utility, they changed the name of it. But back in the day, when you pull it up and you go back all the way to page number 1, and you see the first place that they did a book entry on was the county that you were in. And then they traded you again in the same county or a close county. And then the third, fourth, fifth trade after that is all the way in Switzerland, all the way in the Netherlands, all the way in Hong Kong. That's your proof that you can get all of that stuff back, and it goes all the way back to generation skipping, gift tax, all these things, because you never claimed it, so it must have been a gift because you're the only one with the juice. So that's when you get 709s and 706s, that gift tax. You absolutely can claim that, but they're not gonna let you claim that when you have stuff low-hanging fruit that you hadn't claimed yet. Why are they gonna give you all this money back over here when Harpo, you didn't go over there and get the money that was right there in your lap? You didn't claim the stuff. You didn't claim the stakes in the security interest that was right there with the commissioner of abandoned property. See, they send you these little abandoned property notices to say, hey, you got this money from your Uncle Johnny that died 20 years ago that your mama and him, you didn't know about it. He was kind of invalid, but he left you $20,000. See, they give you these little notices or tell you, oh, every once in a while you'll hear them say, go and check the state that you live in or the state that you were born in to see if you have an abandoned property, because the state has to hold it. They're not telling you about the real abandoned property, but that's supposed to serve as the notice because they have to give you notice.
Yeah, my uncle just died. I got his birth certificate. I got his death certificate. I got his death certificate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, what's gonna happen if you go put a trademark on that name and then you go and claim all them funds? What they gonna do? Nothing, because they can't touch it no more.
Will the trust claim all the funds? The trust will claim all the funds, right?
Just claim all the funds, and that's a trust fund for the next generation.
I was just to add to what I was sharing with KJ earlier, and I think I told you before, Davin. I had pulled up some HUD documents. Some people at the Vanguard kind of shared this with me. HUD not claims, they will state, it's in the form, HUD 92-900A. They say we are not a sponsor. However, the inducement, we will induce the use of, in my case, Johnny Young's social security number. And they don't say social security. They call it a DSSAN, the depositor's social security account number, making him eligible as the mortgagor, right? So now the mortgagee signs a certificate, Bank of America, I don't care who it is, that they are receiving a mortgage from the mortgagor. And this is where it gets real sticky. Not even sticky, but HUD has a document that says if any foreclosures ever challenged to the Secretary of HUD, they will suspend it and terminate it. Did you hear me? So at the closing table, the trust funds that we're missing, and I got this from a California commissioner of business oversight. They stuck it hard to Champion Mortgage and Freedom Mortgage. And this is what happens. At the table, they're an escrow repair trust fund, amortization trust fund, a plain escrow trust fund, title trust fund, Veterans Administration trust fund, USDA trust fund, a PMI trust fund, an MIP trust fund. Now, the foreclosure, and I learned years ago, is not about removing you from property. That's what the public says. but is to bar you from all of the escrow or trust funds that are still, in their case, what you're saying, and still sitting out there that we know
Yes.
nothing about.
Yes. Yes.
I yield. So there's so much that we are laying out on the table, or I guess what they will consider us abandoning, but it's all still there for us to recoup it. And I think the sweet part about it is, as long as that note is still within that maturity of 15 or 30 years, and in most cases 30 years, it can always be redeemed. It says it right on. There's a clause inside those prospectus, if you read them, or even the 10Ks and 8Ks, that you can go back and redeem it. It just has to be a certain way to go back to redeem them.
100%. And you're right. They
That's
said those loans, OIDs, original issue discounts, at a discount, and hypothecate and resell and resell and resell. All they're doing is noting and minuting on those book entries and passing them over to the next security agent and let him stamp it. Then they pass it over to the next one and let him stamp it. And it diminishes for the next 30 years until they roll it up and put it in mortgage-backed security and or notion and pooling. And so, yes, 100% right. You're 100% right. That's where we are.
All right.
So it's up to us to go in and claim those accounts, know how we're doing it, move around in commerce, so we can go in and take the time to study and do that. And what I like to call, I create ciphers. We all sit down, we take some time, we go to somewhere nice on the beach or something. Everybody brings all their paperwork and we just sit down and get it done. And then afterwards we go eat, and then the next day we get some more done, and we go out and eat and have a couple of drinks, and then we just keep getting it done. And a lot of times we mail a lot of stuff off, send a lot of stuff off, but we have to get to the point where we're working those 3 months towards the end of the year so we can eat January, February, March.
Yeah.
On and on
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Man. Well, yo, the sister's working on my stuff. So once I'll buy everybody's plane ticket. We can fly somewhere. We can meet somewhere.
I'm with it. I'm with it. I want like yachts and blue oceans. That's like
So send me an email, sister, and tell me what else I need to fill out and get to you.
Yeah. I also want your Cash App. I like to donate something for all of us, but for your time this evening. So if you just send me your Cash App, I'll take care of that right now.
Yeah, put it in the chat. Also put in the chat that ledger book that she suggested that we all get for our trust.
I sent it to you. You didn't see it?
Huh?
I don't see it. I mean,
you don't see it?
You didn't see it?
It's
no,
on
I'm sending the link. I sent him the link.
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. And noting, look, make no mistake, noting and minuting is so profound. If you can find you a good notary, I tell everybody, y'all go get, if you're in Florida, sit under somebody and become a civil law notary, because you can do that by being grandfathered in and being an apprentice. Go get your notary seals, because in a minute, they're not going to allow people to get notary seals over here. Do you know how profound notary seals are? I have some treaties on what seals do. I'm going to tell y'all something. We talked about everything being a trust, right? Application, registration, and certification. So I found out the best place for me to do all of my quote unquote paperwork is in the state that I was born on, the land that I was born on. So of course that's Tennessee. So I'm talking to my cousin, I said, hey, I can't get out there right now, but I need you to, I'm gonna send you some documentation. I pulled the application offline to get my DBAs. I said, I need you to go in and get this DBA for me. He was like, okay, cuz I got you, whatever. He goes in, I sent him the paperwork, and I sent him, I had my name corrected. So I have Chapika Rose Majors, and then my appellation is Empress Chapika Rose Majors Ill. So I said, well, I kind of screwed up because I was kind of young in the game, and I went ahead and got a social security card in my quote unquote appellation. Well, that's my first appellation. So I was like, okay. So I did one in each one. Well, Granted, the area where they were is for Davidson County. I want to say it was $30 a piece or whatever. But me and my quote unquote infinite wisdom, which is not infinite wisdom, it's just me learning, but I like to call it infinite wisdom to boost my morale up. So in that, I put my estate seal on that application.
Mhm.
Now, what happens when you go and fill out take an application somewhere, you go fill it out or whatever and send it in? Don't they normally keep your application?
Yep.
And they go and do stuff to it, securitize it or whatever. Well, they couldn't do that. As a matter of fact, I stamped the application. I'm supposed to be paying every year to renew those DBAs. They told me I don't have to renew them no more. Told me, gave me back the application with my seals on it. And I always use seals that are embossed. I don't like to use just the little stamp. I want my paper moved.
Yeah.
I want the paper moved. So they sent that back, told me I don't have to redo anything ever again. And mind you, Tennessee is a chancery state. And I thought to myself, it was the seal. I know the seal did something. And
It's
then
the
maybe
seal. It's the seal. It's the
Wow.
seal.
yes,
And that was your estate seal?
Yep.
that was my seal. Yes.
Or if
Yes.
I do like Christopher Arnell Kemp living estate.
And when you put that crest, I saw when your screen popped up, Empress, you have a crest. When you put your seal and your crest, it's a done
Look.
deal.
Where'd you get your crest
Stop
made
playing.
at?
I got a
I
web
made
guy
that.
that's doing mine.
Or you made your crest?
Yes, I went. That's exactly what I did. I went. No, I didn't make it. I designed it with a whole bunch of different pictures that I wanted. I worked with this dude. He is this dude over in Kazakhstan somewhere,
Kazakhstan,
way
yeah.
overseas, and he does my seals for me. And we just do it. I'm very detailed, and I like being creative. So when I'm tired and can't come to a conclusion on the quote unquote working side, I'll do something creative like design a seal or something like that. And so he works with me. That seal cost me $50. I tipped him another 50 because I felt like it wasn't enough money.
Wow. Yeah, I
Right.
need to get in contact because I got to do a seal on my estate and my trust.
Yes, he did all my seals, all my son's seals and everybody, but that's our family estate seal for the Majors L quote unquote clan. But I have another one that I'm working on for my mother's maiden name, which is Campbell, which ta-da, I'm just now figuring out that's why we got the dowry, because everything come from the women. Do you
Yeah.
understand how bad they have us? They have us so backwards that we don't even respect each other anymore. And they got these women out here twerking pregnant and barefoot. I want to slap all of them,
Ah!
making me look bad.
These bonnets and these eyelashes that like hang out here. Like, come on, y'all, stop.
Those umbrellas, and I don't mean to get graphic, but when I found out the real reason for the fake eyelashes for
What's
what
that?
they used to do, oh my gosh, they look like what's the little dude that used to be Big Bird's friend? That's
Tweety
what
Bird.
they look like. No, the other one.
Oh, Snuffleupagus.
Snuffleupagus. I was like, y'all gotta
Eyelash.
stop.
Yeah.
Big
Look crazy.
muscles, your eyelids got muscles on them now because they gotta lift them jokers up every day. I'm just appalled. I'm so and it hurts my feelings because when I had my sons, the twins, first set of sons, and I was pregnant with them and bonding with them, and they were in my stomach, and I would read to them and play classical music for them. I did this with all my offsprings, but I was 26 and I didn't have any children, and I used to babysit all the children in my family when I was in high school and younger to make sure that all the babies had a safe place to go. My mother is the youngest of all of her cousins, siblings, and everybody. So my sister and I were the youngest of everybody else. So our first cousins were, while we were in high school, they were 30 or 29, having families, getting married and stuff like that. And we were young. So I would babysit all the children. And I'm taking care of these babies in my grateful stomach, and like I vowed to put into society, something magnanimous and two souls that are great, and they're very smart and very, worldly, and we've traveled and they understand culture and know how to fit in any situation. Why my babies ain't got no damn body to marry? It's nothing out here for my babies.
You got to take them,
Nothing.
you got to take them overseas.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's not always the best thing because they will poison your ass to get you so they can get. Yes. So I don't know what to do. I don't know. And I have a relationship. My sons, the oldest ones, are 22. And they're always saying, Mom, you know, let me tell you about this chick. Because we have a relationship when we talk about everything and things of that nature. And they just like, it ain't nothing out here. Every chick we run into, they for the streets. You know, it's nobody out here. And it's sad. It is so sad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I heard that too, Empress. My son is 33-ish, and even in the younger men, they saying the same thing. There's no good women that they would want
to have families with. Yeah.
And it's nobody out there that I want them to have families with, because the way I look at it is when we're talking and you know, they have their little podcast and they're like, Mom, you know, our friends want you to sit on the podcast with us, because their friends ask me questions all the time. And they were like, you know, Mama Empress, tell us about, you know, what we should be looking for in women. And the first thing I said, if she has fingernails so long that she can't pick up a scrub brush or a spatula to cook you food,
wipe her butt.
Trouble. And I said, and you don't want her to cook your food, because who wiping her ass when she poops? Who's doing that? If you don't see her walking around with a little brush to clean out from under her nails, don't let her do anything for you. They can't even type a letter. They can't do anything.
Do nothing.
And I'm like, I don't want that for I look at it this way. My sons are my sons. And if I had daughters, it would be the same thing. Those, no matter who comes after me, they're still my sons and daughters.
Yeah.
So I have to be cognizant for who they spend their time with. It's sad. You know, back starting out before quote unquote COVID, I had to teach them about, you know, hey, strap up. If you decide to have intercourse with somebody, check them out, strap up. And you don't want this, da 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 da. Okay. And I literally showed them everything that you could possibly think that you could get. Okay. Now, when they tell me about a girl that they really like, I'm like, did she have a skibbity paps? I'm talking about the shot now. Did she have a shot? Mama, I don't know. That's like an AIDS question. Do you have AIDS? Let me see your paperwork. Did you get the shot? That's where we are in our society. We have to ask people these things, because at the end of the day, what are we going to do?
Yeah, you're right.
They're already attacking us. They've been attacking us, and they're not telling. It's so crazy that the quote unquote Caucasian Khazari thing is not telling people who their complete enemy is, and it's us.
It's us. Well, that woman already said this. She said the biggest threat to the Jewish people is the young Black American.
Did you see her say that?
Sure did.
And she said she was talking about in Israel. She said in Israel, but ain't nobody peeped that. They were in Georgia when she said it.
She was in Georgia.
She was in Georgia when she said it. She said the biggest threat in Israel. Pay attention, in Israel. She's not talking about the fake Middle East. If there's a Middle East, where's the Middle West? Where's the Middle South? Where's the Middle North?
Right.
She's talking about here on the land.
On the land.
Here. And she said the biggest threat is Black men, and she's right.
Yeah.
Because we're not Black. Y'all are. Y'all Black. We're not Black. We're not. You are the ones in the quote unquote Bible that have the leprosy. In leprosy, blonde hair, pale skin.
All of that, yeah.
So how y'all gonna go behind and write a whole nother book that says leprosy is dark skin and kinky hair? Where they do that at? I cannot. I just, you know, and if y'all get me on a tangent, I'll talk about history and all kinds of stuff all day, all night, all the way down to Big Mike and Obama. Look, I don't know. Y'all already know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But that's just where I am.
Well, thank you so much, Empress, for your time.
Absolutely.
And we just look forward to working with you. We got
Absolutely. I will
Yeah,
send, oh, and I
what's the next steps for us? I mean, what should we be planning or scheduling next?
One thing you really need to do is decide what you want to do. I'm not sure if you guys have taken the time to create a flow chart. I
Nope.
tell people all the time, look at creating a flow chart that gives an idea of where you want to go. The reason why I said it's paramount that you guys note it minutes inside of your ledgers is because before you spend something, you're supposed to write it down in your ledger. If we're starting to do those things, I don't have a quote unquote will, W-I-L-L. I have a will, W-I-E-L-D. So you got to kind of move in the way, like put it on paper, put it in your mind, make your cells in your body move the way that you want them to move so you can be free of this and still give to your community. I'd say simply write down what you want to do next. And if you can write it down and express it, then my job in the tax realm is to make sure it happens. There are some foundational things that you need to do, which I'm going to say it this way. If you have a trust, a living trust and a charitable trust set up, you're pretty, and I said the first trust is pretty much a private express trust, a charitable trust, and your living trust set up. You can, it's a lot of moves that you can make with that, just that alone. I can help. So this is what I do. I have my clients, I tell all of my clients, you need a bond. We get you a bond, we file your bond. It takes 90 days for the bond to cure, but at the same time, once that bond cures, it's a lot of stuff that you can do and move in a lot of ways. If you have some 1099s that's floating around out there, I can recoup a lot of those things. I can recoup your OIDs. If you already have, like you have the Inter Vivos Trust, you winning. You're already winning. Because what happens is you take those things and we move them onto another platform within the treasury so you can pull down off of it and utilize it the way you need to utilize it. That's why it's important for people that have these 1098Ts or 1099Cs, 1099As, 1099 miscellaneous. They don't know how to use them. And I specialize in transferring those over into your trust and pulling the funds off of it and making sure you file your tax returns. You can file them on a 1040, but on that 1040, let's use a 1040 NR, non-resident alien, or 1040, it's another ES to use your estimated taxes. A lot of people don't understand those funds come back to you if you're set up right. And I use the treaty to make sure you're exempt from paying taxes. And if you put that treaty on your paperwork, you are now set up to collect the taxes. And that's
Well, I have it. I think mine says with that 83 number that the court gave me, there's an 1120 form that they said I should be responsible for, or will be responsible for. So, I mean, I'll get with you later. Or, I'm gonna pull my paperwork together and.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I can give you guys my contract information. I typically ask everybody to sign an NDA because I don't like talking about what I do.
Right, I got you.
Yes, but the first thing I tell everybody is, hey, let me send you my documentation, which is typically going to be a 2848. You write on the 2848 what years you want me to be responsible for. You fax that information in, put my CAF number on it, and put my mailbox number on it. And the Internal Revenue will drop those transcripts into my mailbox with them. And I can tell you a lot by pulling your income transcript and your return transcript. When somebody comes to me and it's a new client, they're like, hey, I need to do my taxes. Okay, who did your taxes last year and the year before that? Oh, well, okay, that was the wrong thing to say to me. Let's pull the transcript, because you can tell me all kinds of things. I've seen all kinds of things. People say they got their taxes done. Yeah, here's a tax return, and that's what they found, and they gave me a copy of it. But when we pull the transcript, that ain't nothing about what you hold in your hand is not what the IRS has on file.
Right.
So those type things, because it's scammers out here. I tell people,
need my 1040s redone from past years.
Pull your transcripts like you pull your credit reports. Pull them.
Yeah. And that's a 2840. No, that's the 45016.
the 4506T is to pull the basic transcripts. But in order for me to go in and for you to dump them in, get them dumped into my mailbox,
Yeah.
you have to do the 2848 along with, well, really just the 2848 is really all I need. And they'll put the text years on and they will put them in my mailbox.
Okay.
I did my master file. I have my master file. It's about yay thick.
That's good. Don't ever
Yeah.
lose it.
Yeah, I mean, I have it. I just never use it, but yeah, I'll start pulling some paperwork together, and also I just put something in your Cash App and just wanted to say thank you from all of us.
Yeah.
I
thank you.
appreciate it. That's what I was saying. I just saw the Cash App come through. Thank you for that. I
No
appreciate
problem.
that.
No problem.
But we can make some money together. You know, I'm
Yes, we
into
can.
real estate.
Well,
Yes,
I keep hearing, you know, they keep telling me, you got the keys to Pennsylvania. You got an Andrew Vivos trust. You just don't know how to use it. And I'm like, okay, I'm right. I don't. I mean, Kay always hit me like that too. You got it. I'm like, okay, but I want to make sure. See, you see him shaking his head now. I just want to make sure that I'm using it correctly. You know, I did the trademark. I got all that stuff together. So I just want to. I'm glad we had this conversation. Put it like that.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
Whoa.
Get it together. And you do have it.
Yeah.
Now, look, you have that. You probably don't even need a bond. All you need to do is just tell them where to put those funds, and they will do that.
There you
Send them
go, Kay. Kay said that. Kay kept saying that. You sitting right on it. You sitting on it, Jay.
Hey,
OG, you
man.
sitting on it.
hey man. I got a quick question for you really quick. I know we wrapping up, but I just was thinking about something while I was talking. Remember when you said, Johnny, that you had something called an SF and they gave you a 9-digit number, right?
83 number.
Okay. No, I was just
Yeah, I
thinking
got a
about that.
98 number to the trust, but the one that the court gave me was an 83. And when I called in, the lady kept saying that was a settlement fund submitted by the court. So I was like,
So I got on this mortgage thing, I was just looking at it and I noticed there's a GF number and it's 9
Mm.
digits. I'm of the mindset it might be the grantor fund. I'm just saying it just put, I don't
Wow.
know. But anywho, I was just curious. But other than that, I'm done, man. I appreciate you guys' time. This was awesome.
This
It was
was
awesome.
awesome.
Hannibal,
Thank you,
you
Empress.
do you have
Absolutely.
a last word, brother?
And huh? What were you
Uh,
saying?
I was asking if Hannibal had anything because I noticed he came on.
No, I appreciate the conversation. I would love to speak with the Empress as far as the 1099s is concerned. I've stepped out there on the 1099 realm. I even took some tax training so I could understand for myself, but I needed some more in-depth understanding. So I'd love to speak with one and keep pushing forward. And like you said earlier, we can make some money together.
Yes, and if you can you share my email with them? My
Yes, ma'am. I will surely do that. Get
do it
get
right
everything lined up, and because I know Doug too, he's got some things he needs to get cleared up. So we're gonna definitely get it
And
lined.
you can share her email, my email with it. Well, I can put it on the chat here.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that too because I can give you all. I have a library in Mega, so if you email me, I can put you in my library because I have 3 major things that I deal with. One is accounting. I have an accounting folder and I tell people all the time, hey, I'm inviting you to this particular folder because you want to know about taxes. And I tell people, if in this particular simplified accounting book, if you just take out a sheet of paper, take out a ledger, get your ledger paper, and go through the first 30 pages. The 30 pages are it's not a lot of information on each page because most of them are examples on how to ledger. If you do that, just take 2 hours to go through those 30 pages. You'll have accounting just like that because everything you look at now would be not a debit and a credit, but you're looking to balance. It's just like when you're going through a spiritual situation. Your spiritual situation is so you can get your balance back. Everything is to balance. And so your account is supposed to be balanced. If you have $10 million on your in your assets, on your account, in your accounting, and you don't have the balance on the other side, but you have the $10 million, they're going to look at you like you're crazy because you're out of balance, right? So at the end of the day, I have people go through these simple little books to get so we're all on the same page. You know what I mean? Because it winds simple stuff that I wish that I knew. I was an accounting major and got out because I knew it was a lie. And so when I went back and got the simple accounting book, I was like, I get it. And just the first few pages. So I have a bunch of library stuff like that that helps people get into the thick of it and understand what's really going on. And you don't have to waste your time, you know, reading a million pages, and it's not even written in a way for you to really understand it. And the same thing with my equity folder. I have an equity folder that has a whole bunch of equitable trust books, like you have your Gibsons, and then you have these other people that have really come together and wrote certain things that you need to see, but it's not all in thou and thee art thou and all that. It's just simple, straight up English, and you get it, and it's written where it's for you to get it, because that's what we're the ones that created this mess. To be honest, we're the ones that created this structure. When you get to the real grit of it and you start to go pull the curtain behind to see who the whiz is, they tell you all the time, the whiz looks like me and you. All folks, all skin folks ain't kin folk. And I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Hannibal and Doug, can you please place your email address in the chat, and then I'll copy them and I'll just send out an email directly to Empress, and your email addresses will be in the carbon copy.
Yes.
Yeah, just put them in the chat, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay. And I think that's it. I have to get on your stuff, young man.
Yep. Working it. I know.
Okay.
Yeah, I just put together a letter, and that I'm gonna get fired off to this cat. Because they think it's a joke. You think he can be a bully. And
Yep.
put my response together. And
Okay.
Let me ask Mr. Johnny, how long did it take for you to get your trademark solidified?
A little over 90 days.
Okay, that's not bad
Yeah.
at all.
Uh-huh.
At all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something.
And like I said, I'll send you, once I got the email, I'll just send you the standard email that, I mean, not email, but the ad that I put together. So, and I kind of thought about everything that I knew over the years, as well as everything that I believe they had their hands on from reading all those perspectives. So it kind of is, I think once a week goes by and you kind of share something about the NDA, which I didn't think about, but I was going to submit a certificate of publication to everyone that I've already having a current contract with or trust with, to make sure that they know the status has changed on it. But I think that NDA might even be more appropriate to put and, register it to each and every vendor. I'll use the word vendor, but each and every trust account that I have set up out there.
yeah.
Question.
Go ahead.
Can I be heard?
Yes,
Yeah, I can hear you.
Empress, you stated that you put your embossed seal on a like a government document application, something like that.
Every day, yes, sir. I don't go home without it. It's Frank's hot sauce. Yes.
Well, I'm saying, so like, let's just say, for sake of it saying, I'm just picking a document, SS5 form. I was getting it. I can put my embossed seal on that. That's what I'm just trying to get clear of.
If you sign it, what do you think a seal is? It's your mark. It's the same thing.
Okay, I just was, because I got my seal embossed, so I never use it in that format, that capacity. So that's what I was just trying to get clarity.
So say, for instance, you go to court for a speeding ticket and say, okay, well, we want you to take this plea. Go ahead and sign this document. You pull that seal out and put that seal on it. All right, ma'am, you dismissed. We don't need it. All right. They can't touch it. They cannot.
Yeah.
Seals are like kryptonite. Silver is what a vampire cannot handle.
Right on.
It's the same thing. They tell you in all these movies, Superman. Didn't he go into the room, the first Superman, and he had all those crystals in the room?
Mm-hmm.
It had all the information from the time of the very beginning. They're telling you that that's you because his last name is L.
Yeah.
His mother, father, they're L's, but they
Yeah.
also told you that you need the crystal, all that represented your brain and your energy and your DNA.
Mm.
Silica is what you suppose that's a supplement that they make sure is not in your food, so you can't remember who, what, why you came. That's
Yeah.
all done on purpose. So I'm saying it to say, at the end of the day, they're always here to try to throw you off your center and make you not know who and what you are. And it's always in a movie or something like that to keep you entertained, which the word entertain means your brain is entrained into doing something else that you're not supposed to even be doing. You're supposed to be focusing on this. This is what you're
Mhm.
supposed to be focusing on,
You
not
know,
that.
in the Greek culture, they tell you the word entertainment to mean to be mindless. See, if you
100%.
if you're being entertained, your mind is not being used. Yeah.
Right.
It's not used outside of what I'm programming it with.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
We're
You know,
supposed to be
Empress, I had a quick question about the notary, and the reason I have a question about it because at one time I had applied for it and I didn't go through with it only because on our notary in Pennsylvania, it basically calls you, you could be titled as a deputy secretary of the state of Pennsylvania, but the license is still under the state. So having that notary, I mean, is there a way to have the notary without having to be bonded under the state? Because it keeps you as an agent, even though they'll call you a deputy notary or deputy secretary of the state of Pennsylvania. That license still, I think, may have you as an agent for Pennsylvania. Well, in my case, for Pennsylvania. So, what are your thoughts on that?
That's beautiful to me because that means we're working together. And if I know how to claim everything that I put my seal on as a notary and put it down as a security, what's the difference? Because here's the thing: you've already separated yourself from the name. The all caps name is what's under the license. You're live. They already gave you your inter vivos. Doesn't that mean inter life estate?
That's true. And, you know, I forgot to tell you this story. Back in 2014, I went up to the state and met directly with the Secretary of State. And I took my whole name and I made it as a nonprofit. So she was saying, you can't take your name and make it into a nonprofit. I said, yes, I can. So I pulled out the IRS manual on what person was. And then I had my black laws giving her those different definitions. So she took paperwork and she said, I got to go take this to council. And if anything, y'all, if you don't know, I think we all know this, but every corporation will have an esquire to run their business because in the American Bar Association book, and I have a copy of it, a judge threw one at me and said, you'll know what to do with this down the line. This was back in like 08 or 09. So in the back of it, it says the attorneys will be the financial gatekeepers of society. So let me move forward. So she said, let me go get counsel, sit out here. She made me sit out there for a whole fucking, excuse my mouth, for a whole freaking hour in the lobby. So the lawyer came back out and said, here's your state number for your nonprofit. Now you can do everything that the state do, and slam the door in my face. So I have a nonprofit number with the state of Pennsylvania. So based on what you just now said about this notary, I probably can tie that notary to that state agency number that they gave me, because it's a state agency number that they gave me for a nonprofit for Johnny Young. And you can look it up on the state registry under charitable organization. It'll say Johnny Young. Never used it. And so that's why I said this conversation today is perfect.
Yes, because you really, if they said, if he slammed it down and said you can do everything the state can do, he's telling you you're a state ambassador. And you don't even.
I know.
You know it.
I don't want KJ to get back on here because he's gonna start slamming me. So we oh, there you go. I knew he was coming back. There it is right there. So Empress, we got some talking to do. I think I got a lot of things in place already. It might just need your eyes on it.
It's time to tie it together.
Flick of a switch.
And look, if she get this thing together, you know I'm treating. You know how I am. I'm like this. We all. So look.
Yes.
Empress, when you get finished with Dav, I'm gonna make sure I get all my paperwork. over the next week and a half, just show you everything I got. And I
Mhm.
will email you guys the copy of the trademark publication that I threw in the
Yeah.
papers.
Yeah, I
Yes,
just need the
please,
procedure on how to do it. Yeah, I just need the
All right.
procedure on how to do it. So we're good
All
to
right.
go. Blessings,
Okay.
peace and blessings. God bless y'all. Love y'all. Have a great evening.
Unity and love. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tom,
All right,
Young
peace out.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm
thank you
so
guys.
grateful. I'm glad you all are on the plane. I'm glad you're on the planet. Thank you. Thank you.
All
Thank
right, we'll be in
Thank
touch, and I'll get that out
You're
to you
done.
guys. All right.
you. Okay,
All right,
I'm
peace
sending
and love.
one. I'm sending just one group email, and Christopher, you're on it as well.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
to say hey, greetings or whatever. So you will all have my email, and then you'll start seeing stuff from Mega. It's called Mega Files or something like that.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
have a
just
mega email address. Yeah.
okay. So yeah, so if you start seeing that invitation, that's just me inviting you into that library, and it's a lot of stuff. Okay.
Okay.
All
right.
Peace out.
Sounds
All
good.
right.
to
Unity
me.
and love, everyone.
All right.
Unity and love.
I'll be talking
Thank
to
you.
y'all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Hannibal. All right, Hannibal.
I'm out.